Hey guys, Micah from Black Bear Custom Kydex. I've got a couple of sheaths to show you today for these two dark timber knives. If you haven't already checked out dark timber, you really got to go do that. There are a ton of great videos on YouTube of various people testing, using, describing, even videos of Peter Kohler um, at his forge with some of these. They're incredible knives. I'm a huge fan. I unfortunately only own one dark timber. It's a Gen 3 Honey Badger, but I do have Gen 2 scales. So if you guys have a Gen 2 or Gen 3 Honey Badger and you're looking for a sheath, I can do that for you without you having to send your knife. These two knives are just wildly different from the Honey Badger. I love them both. And this one down here, up here, I should say, is the Comanche, and this one is the Cave Bear. I've done one other Comanche sheath, but this is the first one I've done for the Cave Bear. Let's talk about the Comanche first. If you guys have been following me for a while, you probably have seen the other Comanche sheath that I did, and if this looks exactly like it, it is by design. My customer for both these knives is a gentleman named Joshua. He lives in England, and Joshua asked me to basically replicate the other Comanche sheath for him. So that's what we're looking at here. Quick rundown of all the elements on it. Obviously, we have alligator skin over Kydex. The Kydex is an eighth of an inch thick. That's 0.125 inch Kydex for those of you who speak Kydex thicknesses. And it is as thick as Kydex comes. So a lot of people might think that it's kind of difficult to work with, ungainly, or might be too rigid to have a good sheath or holster. I really would argue against that thinking. It's extremely durable. It's a lot thicker and more rugged than other Kydexes, other thicknesses, I should say. But in my experience, it actually kind of gives you, I wouldn't say necessarily more crisp, but definitely more springy of a draw. Surprisingly enough, it also gives you a lot of definition when you press a sheath with super thick Kydex on it. So I've been very happy working with 0.125 and definitely would continue to do so and recommend it to anybody who's getting a larger knife. You could definitely get away with 0.93 for something this size, but if you're going to go up to a knife like the Cave Bear or something in this size class, maybe similar to an SE Hungless, upgrading to 0.125 is going to be a really good option for you, both in terms of the fit, the draw, the springiness of it, all that, but also because it does make for a more rigid overall sheath. This also has an Exotac Nano Striker XL. This is an excellent fire starting option. In one side, it's got a ferro rod, and in the other side, it's got a striker. Both of these have rubber gaskets in the threading there, so it's a watertight container. You shouldn't have any issue keeping a seal on that if you just tighten it down good. So Exotac creates a lot of really nice ferro rod and other fire starting products, and I'm a big fan of these. The other thing it has on here is a Sunto Clipper compass. Now this is an excellent high quality compass. It's only about $15 to $20. I think you'd find that this is probably the best compass for your money. And it's definitely within that kind of budget, everybody can afford it range. One of my favorite things about the Clipper and what makes it my go-to compass for sheaths is that it's got that little jaw on the bottom of it, which allows me to make a little floated plate that it kind of fits behind like so, and then a tooth on the front, and I just drill a little hole in the plate there and get it to seat down in there. That is a little bit of an evolved holder that I've adopted from a customer of mine named Harrison from, I want to say like 3 years ago now, where I'd sent him a compass on a plate like this, and he actually added the hole and then relayed that back to me, that it makes it sit a little bit more flush and secure. And since then, I've done a couple other things to give you a little more like adjustable retention, floating the plate on these little spacers. So you can actually increase or decrease how difficult it is to get that compass on or off the sheath by just tightening or loosening those screws there. I wouldn't tighten them down a lot more than they are because it does become very difficult to remount that compass. Currently, it's quite secure. This is exactly how I would have it. And then of course it is an ambidextrous sheath in every sense of the word. So I've made a second plate here that'll fit on the back side. It is a perfect mirror image of the plate that's currently mounted to the sheath. And in fact, I think before I ship this, I might just mount this on the back side so that it's one less thing that Joshua has to move if he ever converts to a left-handed sheath. The carry setup, this is an invention of mine. It's called the Tech-Lock Clasp Dangler. It uses a latex Tech-Lock, and obviously you can just open this up and reveal that there is a Kydex piece holding a D-ring with the dangler adapted or dangler attached to it. So this is just a little adapter that fits perfectly into a Tech-Lock. You do have to have the belt spacer bars at their current position here to have it optimally fixed in place, but where they're at right now, this thing has no wiggle room, not only laterally but vertically as well. It fills up the whole belt recess and makes it just very, very rugged and stable. It also has stoppers on the bottom and on the top that prevent it from going any direction at all. So very happy with how this came out. And then the dangler itself, as you can see, a little bit of two-toned look. It's because this is actually alligator skin bonded to cowhide. The reason I did it like that is because, number one, alligator is just super, super expensive. So to get enough of it to get these strips to make a dangler, I would have to charge a wild amount more than I already charge for what's the most expensive skin option that I currently offer. So to kind of maximize on the scraps that I've got, as well as to avoid having to charge you guys a lot more than what you're already paying, what I do is cut a strip of cowhide and a strip of the gator. The gator itself is just a little bit too thin to be a single layer and, in my opinion, be comfortable like that. So I bond it to some cowhide with the same process and materials that I use to bond the skin to the Kydex. It's very rugged, it's very durable, it's not going to separate on you. This stuff is built to last. And then, of course, I finish the edges together, slick them, cut it all, make it all work. Normally I stamp my logo, an American flag, something like that onto the dangler, but gator is just too rugged to do that, so I couldn't stamp it in there. But I don't think you'll find anything like this out on the market anyway, so we all know who it came from. Just has a really nice look to it. There you go. Going over to the Cave Bear, like I said, this is the first time I've done a Cave Bear sheath. I'm super excited to have this knife in the shop. It's a beast, guys. It's right around the same size as the full-size SE Hungless, the Hungless 1, if you will. The Hungless 2 is a little bit smaller, and man, this thing is just fierce looking. It's got all the kind of hallmarks of dark timber, really comfortable handle, just aggressive angles and whatnot, and it's got this really interesting guard down here, and I'm not totally sure what all the functions are of this thing, so if anybody wants to contribute to the discussion down below and let us know, that would be greatly appreciated. But what I can tell you right now is that it gives you a lot more control when you choke up into that choil. So I assume it gives you a little bit more of like leverage to pull back when you chop if you're up in the choil, as well as the ability to kind of control the knife laterally a little more with both your index and middle finger pinching that between them. So whatever else there is that this thing does, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, your speculations, or if you happen to know. I haven't actually watched any videos on the Cave Bear from Peter Kohler or others at Dark Timber to get kind of the exact answer on that. But if you guys happen to know, please feel free to comment down below, or if there's a video that describes it really well, you can feel free to link that in your comment as well. All right, guys, so that's the Cave Bear itself. You can see, very interesting, very powerful knife. I really like this thing. It's gorgeous and super comfortable in hand. Now, this sheath has a slightly different texture to it. The reason is because this is kind of my go-to. This is called American Hornback Alligator. You can see the spines on it. It's a really cool, aggressive texture. I couldn't find a piece of that that was large enough to do the Cave Bear sheath. So what I opted for was some belly skin off of an Asian crocodile. I was able to get that in a nice big sheet, and it obviously did the job here. So the texture is a little bit different, but you still get a lot of the same benefits. It's harder than leather is. It doesn't have the same vulnerabilities that cowhide does, and it still gives you that really nice reptilian look to it. It's just a gorgeous color. I love this stuff. This is really cool. One other, I don't know that I would call it an advantage, but one other positive feature of this, in my opinion, is the fact that it is just a little bit softer and thinner than hornback alligator. So what it does is takes more of the contour of the Kydex beneath it. You can really distinctly see the shape of the handle as well as the blade, and you can kind of make out the blocking and all that I did for it. When I say blocking, I'm talking about like there should be a big cave-in of Kydex here in this forward choil, but clearly there's not. So I fill in these spots on the knife itself before pressing it to prevent the Kydex from kind of being able to snag and drag along the length of the blade. So there you go. So Asian crocodile for this one, American hornback for the Comanche. I really, really love this sheath. I love both of them, but I think I like the cave bear just a little bit more. Now Joshua asked if I could do a drop leg setup for him, so that's what we're looking at here. He wanted the same Tech-Lock clasp dangler, which you guys already know, and then a dangler with a leg strap creates what's called a drop leg setup. Additionally, he wanted the ability to carry as a baldric system. So what baldric means is you've got a 2-point sling that's slung across your shoulder, and traditionally, if you're a right-handed user, the sling would be on your right shoulder, traveling diagonally across your body, and the knife would hang under your left arm, either vertically or horizontally, and you'd cross draw it like so. It's a really cool carry setup. It's my absolute favorite way to carry a large fixed blade, or any fixed blade for that matter. It's just, you know, not necessarily a good EDC option, but if you're out in the field hiking, camping, whatever, a baldric is just a fantastic way to carry. He has a leather baldric sling, he told me, that has D-rings on it, and so we opted for me not to send him one of the slings that I get from Beach and Tactical. He said he'll just use his own. However, he said he's got brass hardware on that. So what I did was I ordered some small D-rings in a brass color. I got those, and then I couldn't find any for the large D-rings that I use, so I actually spray painted them. And just to give you a good close-up look, they're not an absolutely perfect match, but they're pretty close, and I think they'll match the hardware that he's got on his sling. So I'm excited about that. These came out pretty nice, and I'd love your opinions down below. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I've got for you. I can't think of anything else really to share. Other than that, both of the sheaths are set up so that the Tech-Locks can be worn horizontal, vertical, or at a couple of different canted angles in between the two. So you've got 4 different carry angles with your Tech-Locks, and that makes this just even more versatile of a setup. But I'd love your opinions down below. So let me know if you have any experience with dark timber knives, in particular these two, and let me know what your thoughts are on those. What is your favorite large fixed blade? Actually, let's go medium and large, so something maybe in the size class of an SE6 and an SE hungless. I'd love to get a discussion going down below. Do you guys like dark timber a lot? How does it compare to your favorite large or medium fixed blade, and why? All right, guys, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thanks so much for tuning in for this video. Stick around for the next one. God bless.